And you talk about government, guess what? If the government comes after here and here and here and, you know, and we don't, then it's just the elite at that point doing what they want to do, how they want to do it, and not have a problem. Rick Perry, who, you know, and I keep bringing up this Texas thing because I have family in Texas. And so, you know, my mom is still down there, my brother, my cousins and uncles, you know, and so guess what? Man, I'm worried. I'm concerned because, you know, not only do they have heat, they don't have power now. They all live in different places and they're, you know, fairly successful people. But Rick Perry, who obviously was the previous governor and past energy secretary, you know, I mean, he's sitting somewhere in his nice, you know, saying, well, this is not a problem. Don't let the federal government come in and tell you what to do. Well, hello, it's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't have food, water.
People love saying that about government. When the government failed, they're like, no, don't expect the government to solve your problems. It's like, hey, you caused the problem, brother.
You caused it, exactly.
Like where last year, like people are like, oh, the government's giving out all this money for coronavirus. Like, I can't run my business because of the government. So can I get some money? You know, like
exactly.
I don't feel the least bit ashamed taking a little bit of money off of all of the contracts that I lost because I couldn't run a business.
Right, exactly. And so, yeah, it's, I mean, and that is that piece that you have to, you know, and again, not to beat up on them, but because they still run, you know, society as we know it. But you have to take a real look. And I am so sick and tired of people blaming the media, though. Like I come from the media. And so, you know, I just wish people would, you know, understand the differences, you know, understand that there's a difference between broadcast media and cable and
local
talk
media versus what KMEG's doing versus what Fox News versus what MSNBC is doing.
Exactly.
Right. I worked at, you know, KMEG.
Right.
And I'll say that there was no like, hey, don't run that story because it makes Democrats look bad. Or we need to run this pro-Republican life section.
Exactly.
You know, there was none of that.
None of that. And so that's the biggest thing that we have to really, you know, take a look at, because people do. You know, the other day someone sent me a thing about, Biden, he, you know, all the executive orders that he signed, you know, he signed an order for insulin to go up. And I'm like, prove that. Mm-hmm. You know, and so I did my research and the order that he signed had nothing to do with that. It had to do with the fact that the order that was signed was expiring.
Right. And that's the problem is that with partisan media in general, as far as at the national level, I say that MSNBC and Fox News have like, if the Taliban could have done 1/10 of what Fox News and MSNBC has done to the American public, then the Taliban would have been the most successful terrorist organization of all time.
You're so right. Yeah, I love it. And, you know, but I really do appreciate when people can sit down and have a conversation and talk about, you know, I try never to get too political, but obviously in my role, you know, politics is because at the end of the day, policy changes are what we need and what we're looking for. And, you know, we as regular citizens can't make those changes, so we have to look to the politicians. But I do think term limits should be in effect, you know, because I think it doesn't give people time to get their feet in. And we do have to be careful you know, when you look at a Steve King, and I realize, and you know, the interesting thing is that, and I've often said this, Steve King isn't when you meet him face to face, I've met him. I mean,
he's a nice guy. He's charismatic.
Guy, exactly. Yeah. One of the nicest guys. I mean, and we've had conversations. We've talked and those things. But, you know, in that inner self, and when, you know, if this is what you believe, then you should not, you know, be elected to you know, and I'm not saying the highest office, but elected to a higher office that you represent a group of people, especially when you don't support, you know, or have love for those people.
Yeah. You know, I had a big problem with it when, with a lot of Steve King stuff, I'm kind of like, he was just playing to get some support, you know, like I get, whatever. But it's the gross side of politics. It's the problem with not having campaign finance reform, campaign term limits, or term limits in general, because it just turns into, it's just a money game. It's just a campaigning game.
Absolutely.
Right? But with Steve King, when he started talking about the fact that Sioux City, the Sioux City billboards are in Spanish now, and that's what's happening to their town. That's why we need to stop immigration. It's like, No, I live here, dog. It's not, I don't have a problem with billboards being in Spanish because it means that on every street corner is one of the best burritos you've ever had in your life.
Exactly.
And and at some point, the German bakeries in the town are going to be replaced by a panisteria. And it's not because it's not a negative. It's just the evolution of what it means to be in America and have a melting pot.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, and that's again where it comes back to when that question of why. What is it as a white individual? What is it that you are afraid of that's happening or going to happen that makes you stand firm, dig your feet in the, and say, nope, I don't want this. What is it? What is it that, and I've asked this question, what is it that you want? White America, what do you want? Because I would like to know so we can say, okay, now I know what you want. So let's figure out how we get it. Unless, it's so far-fetched that, because at the end of the day, I believe we all want the same thing. I want a safe community. I want a safe, productive, efficient, effective school for my children. I want to, make a decent wage, so that I can take care of my family, so we can take a vacation, so we can do some of those things, and it's not just I'm working 60 and 70 hours a week to make ends meet,
Right.
I mean, I want to know that I live in a place that the meat is good, that, that I don't have to worry about getting spoiled meat or that, I have heat right. in my home. So I would challenge any person that's of non-color to tell me that they don't want those things. If someone wants, hey, I want a gun too. If it means I'm gonna stay safe, but I mean, I hope I never have to use it.
Right. I think that Killer Mike articulates that point the best.
Absolutely.
Yes, the way he talks about just gun rights and their importance in the Black community, I'm like, this guy really, I feel like he gets it.
Exactly. Absolutely. So I would challenge anybody to, sit across from me and tell me that you don't want these things. You tell me what you want and I'll tell you what I want. And I guarantee you, we're going to be right lock and step.
Yeah. And I mean, regardless, and you can take away, it doesn't have to be black, white, it could be Democrat, Republican,
yes.
It can be, atheist, Catholic, right? Everybody, I feel like, does want the same things. They want a level of autonomy and freedom.
Right.
They want to be sure that their family is safe, and they want to be able to make a living.
Exactly.
And that's at the core.
And so when you think about those three things that you just said, and then you throw in the fact that, we're fighting over, masks. That we're fighting over healthcare.
Some things are so silly.
I mean, it's silly because at the end of the day, if you get sick, you need a doctor. If I get sick, I need a doctor. But yet and still, we're going to fight over healthcare. We fight over pro-life and pro-choice. I mean, as if, and now it's, me and you are a bunch of men, how do we tell a woman what she should or shouldn't do, with her body when it comes to reproduction? And again, not to say that we would ever tell a woman, hey, go do this. No, right. but that's her decision, and to should we not want crazy people to have guns? I mean, I'm not necessarily for gun control in terms of, taking away from everybody. But I mean, if I know someone who has a mental illness, I think I'm okay with them not being, issued a license to have a gun.
Yep. And it's all just like the problem is that it's all just splitting hairs, right? It's
and that's
where the division comes in. Right. Is the hair splitting part. It's
right.
Crazy,
exactly. And so, as Americans, I think we have to take a deeper look and truly understand what it means to, have freedoms, have rights. Because, we can be some of the biggest hypocrites ourselves in terms of, we support our troops, but we don't support, freedom of speech. Right. We support our troops, but we don't support freedom of choice. We support our troops, but we don't, because our troops are fighting for our freedoms,
right,
is what we tell ourselves. And then yet, we have one group or one side says, nope, this is the way it needs to be. You said something earlier and it made me think about the Supreme Court. Oh, you was talking about campaign finance reform. And think about it, part of the politicians or the partisan groups, they are trying to put people on the Supreme Court that sides with them.
They're like literally just lobbyists.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, whoa, no, I want a better America. I want a fairer America, a safer America. I mean, just in case if there's an argument to something, what does this mean?
Yeah.
How do we interpret this? Not,
Here, I'll put out a PSA right now. Until we have campaign finance reform in America and the super PAC system, there will be no such thing as free and fair elections, because nobody will be elected at the will of the people. They will only be elected by who puts the most money in their pockets.
Absolutely.
That is a fact.
That's a fact.
And if anybody has any problem with campaign finance reform, as far as politicians go, that means they're corrupt.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm so grossed out by the campaign finance thing. It's
absolutely. Yeah. I'm, and you know what? And you're absolutely right. I couldn't disagree more.
Yeah. And then like not only that, but when you get a system like where you get an incumbent in, where people say, "Oh, Mitch McConnell needs to get out of the office." Well, Mitch McConnell's been doing a lot of companies bidding for a lot of years, and that's not a Republican thing. That's Democrats and Republicans both do companies biddings.
Yes.
Mitch McConnell's not going to be out of office because nobody's going to be able to raise any money to challenge him, because the people who already he has their vested interests in mind. They're already paying his bills.
They're paying his bills.
There's not going to be an incumbent to challenge, or there's not going to be he's not going to be beating the primary.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know what? And if people don't believe you, all they have to do is just go back a few years to healthcare. When Obama was elected and you know what? Right here in Iowa, if you go back and you look at United Healthcare and you look at Senator Grassley and his wife, who United Healthcare big supporters of them. So, do you think that Senator Grassley would ever vote against someone who's lining his pockets?
Yeah.
No, never. Hey, I need you to do this. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. I get it. I get it. So if you aren't morally in a place to say, you know what, I'm gonna make the right decision, then you know what, someone has to do it. Somewhere else.
And that's the thing, is that nobody's going to be morally in the correct place to make that decision, because we've seen time and time again that people aren't making the moral decision.
Exactly.
And it's not even necessarily the moral decision, because just to be clear, I'm like a right leaning voter.
Right.
And I'm totally against the current healthcare system and privatized healthcare, because at this current stage in the whole government regulation system, we are making two different industries filthy rich.
Yes.
Go drive by a hospital in every city. The nicest buildings in the entire city are government buildings. Don't get me started. But then hospitals and insurance buildings.
Yes.
Why are we making two industries so filthy rich off of a necessity?
Of a necessity.
So if you're a right-leaning voter like I am, and you believe in small government, less government spending, then maybe we should look at how do we get less money coming out of our pockets into a healthcare system. And if that is, maybe we just all share in a collective healthcare system to lower the cost for everybody, then maybe we do that.
Absolutely.